What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby update with the Racing Dudes. I got my boy today. I usually have Magic with me. I think I upgraded. I hit that upgrade button. I got Mike Somich. Somich, how are we this morning?
Doing good, man. Excited to be here. We haven't gotten to talk Derby together in a long time. We've been on opposite shows. We actually haven't talked about this pre-show either, so I'm excited to kind of jump into it and get your thoughts on it, because I definitely have a take that some people are disagreeing with here after the Magic Mike show yesterday.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I caught most of the Magic Mike show. I didn't see anything I disagreed with, but maybe you said something that I missed. So that'll be interesting as well. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot of Derby. Obviously, it is the Kentucky Derby update. Before we do, we'll get the claim out of the way here. We have a fantasy league, if you don't know, and we do have a shake for a horse here today for Hit Show. It's a two-way shake between your team, the Magic Mike show, and Evil Stevel and Kelby Von Hemel. So I'll go ahead and pull up everybody's favorite thing. Everybody hates this thing.
Come on, baby. We're over, but I've never been on a show. So I'm hoping I'm the lucky charm here.
All right. Well, I think you're going to do it. All right. I'm very excited. First of all, I'll hit this number generator and you'll see it does change numbers.
I got my lucky coin, courtesy of Shoddy here. So this is good. It's going to bring us the win in the claim.
Okay. I love it. I love it. You are going to be number one. Okay.
Of course.
Evil Stevel and Kelby are going to be number two. This is for Hit Show. All right, here we go. Very exciting. I'm going to hit it. This is the official one, though. All right, are you ready? Here we go.
Ready to lose.
Two. Hey! Oh, you lost again.
Literally have never won a claim in this league. This is the third year. 0 for life in claims. It's pretty impressive at this point.
You lost again. So Kelby and Evil Stevel are going to get Hit Show, and they are going to drop Gilmore. So that is the first claim here. You put in a claim for Hit Show. He's going to run this weekend in the Withers after getting scratched out of the Southwest Stakes. Talk about Hit Show a little bit. Why'd you guys like him?
Yeah, I talked actually about Hit Show in a Derby prep video I did for the site as well. 4 long shots I was interested. Hit Show was like 75-1 at the time to win the Derby. We don't necessarily think this is a Derby winner, but going to New York, I think, is a positive for Hit Show here. It's going to be a lot easier to aggregate points there. And when you're in this league, one of the things you have to focus on is where am I going to be able to get points? And the bottom 2 horses for us specifically, one of them, Tappet Shoes, who I think has a good future. I don't think we're going to see a ton of preps moving forward after the last allowance effort. Clearly has a lot of head issues. Switch leads about 10 times down the stretch and just wasn't able to kind of mentally get there. And you need to make those mental strides. We've seen that with Tappet horses in the past. So he's one I'd put on the back burner maybe for the second half of the year. From Phileas Fogg's perspective, who is our other horse, just has not worked since he won a race going gate to wire, looked good at fairgrounds. And you can't really just sit with horses in this league. So you got to take chances when you can get them. And Hit Show made sense. Obviously Brad Cox trainee who's going to go up to New York. He's probably going to stay in New York if he runs well up there. The group up in New York isn't overly impressive. I'm sure we'll have a couple horses ship in for some of the bigger points races. But to have that horse up there, I thought was valuable. That's kind of why we made the move here. Hit Show's an interesting one. I mean, Brad Cox obviously did not want to run in the Southwest with this horse because of Arabian Night. But finding that New York circuit finds a lot softer ground up there for him. I think he's got a good shot at racking up points up north.
Yeah, I think that's the big key. Where they send him makes a lot of sense. I did not like him very much for the Southwest, but I think Southwest was going to be a much harder race than the Withers. We don't know the field yet, but I think Hit Show will definitely be one of the top 3 or 4 choices. All right, we'll go with 2 more claims that happened that we are not shaking for them. Just one person claimed, put in claims for these horses. 2 Fills, a horse that was second in the LeCompte a couple of weeks ago, claimed by Real Dynasty. Point Proven is who they're dropping there, so that makes logical sense. And then we'll go back to you for another one. The Magic Mike Show will claim 1 horse today. It is Expect More, a horse that's going to run tomorrow in a maiden special weight, and you're going to drop Phileas Fogg. So go ahead, tell us why you liked Expect More.
Well, this is one that I think people forgot about a little bit. Expect More debuted at Keeneland on November 5th, Breeders' Cup weekend, ran 3rd to Arabian Night indeterminately, came back on actually New Year's Eve for Todd Pletcher and won a maiden special weight, but got DQ'd at a short price. Took a mild step forward, but showed a lot more pace that day, ran a more professional race going 2 turns around the mile and a 16th. We're willing to take a shot with a Pletcher horse here who should have no problem getting us 5 points to right away chip into that claiming cost, and then hopefully head up into the stakes company afterward. It's one that Pletcher likes. IRAD staying aboard. So again, Phileas Fogg not working out, pretty much going to be a zero here until we see him back on the card. We'd rather take a horse out of a major barn that looks like he has a shot at taking a step forward, especially if he performs well on Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Davey and Shoddy have a horse in that race that you're going to be challenging. Your horse is the favorite at even money. Expect more. Tashibwe is, I guess, how you say the horse that they have. It's another Todd Pletcher horse in the race, and he's 7-2. So the two top choices are the Pletcher horses. And it's also interesting, you mentioned who Expect More had been up against in the past. Tashibwe was second to Extra Anejo. So these are two horses that were seconds or thirds to really, really big-time horses and ones we're excited about. Have you gotten far enough? Are you going to single your horse on that late sequence on Wednesday?
I haven't gotten to that point, but I think Expect More wins, and based on what the prices are from a structure perspective, not very smart to go too deep with an even money and pretty much any other horse. If you like the even money, you pretty much have to single. So at this point, and I usually go through a card twice before I kind of finalize tickets. I would expect I'm going to single Expect More because I do think he has the best chance to win that race and will be a short price.
Yeah, I haven't finalized it either, but I have been looking through it, and that is a place I think you can go short there with one of those. Tashibwe is how you say it, or is it just Shibwe and no T? The T is silent. I don't know. So you know what? That's for Pete Aiello. He's going to let us know how it's pronounced on Wednesday. That might be interesting to see how he pronounces that one. But anyway, we'll move on. All right, let's go on real quick to a couple of the big races coming up, and then we'll wrap it up with some who we like now Derby talk. Let's talk about first the Bob Baffert Invitational, the Robert B. Lewis. It's drawn 4 horses. They're all Bob Bafferts. I mean, any interest in even watching this race? I mean, I guess to watch it, but any interest in any of these horses?
I'll watch it. Look, right now, the thing that I'm most intrigued about is where these horses end up and what horses switch barns, because that's going to be the key here in the next month is who goes where. And I don't expect to see, well, let me rephrase that. I'm not really interested in seeing any of them go to Tim Yakteen after last year. So we'll see if we make any changes and we go to different trainers. I think Arabian Night, who I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit, where he goes is going to be very interesting to me because I don't think there is a cut and dry, like, yes, it's definitely going to be this trainer. I think the pretty wide range of variants right now and what barn he ends up in. I'm not sure if any of these horses really are Derby candidates. It's interesting that you're going to have a points race with 0 points awarded because of the situation. But it's one of those where, yeah, I'll watch the race. If someone freaks, I'll become more interested. But to me, when you have 4 Bafferts, it really makes the race very uninteresting because you're not going to see a bunch of pace pressure from each of these horses. They're not going to press each other. They're just going to try and figure out who's best. And you might see a slower pace. You might see a quick pace from one of them. It's really hard to handicap the race. And it's hard to handicap the talent in the race coming out of it because of what we're most likely going to see.
That is my biggest frustration. And you touched on it last. I mean, a lot of people, they hate it, that it's a Derby prep with no points on the line and stuff like that. And I get it. But my biggest frustration, it happens with Chad Brown and the turf races at Saratoga and Belmont as well, is when you've got a 6-horse field and 4 of them are by the same trainer. How do you know the pace? And the pace makes the race. And so then it's just a big guess on what their intent is. And I hate that about it. I'm with you. I have interest because I have Arabian Lion. I wish he would win. So we'll see what happens. But
if he doesn't, that's a problem. We're just going to throw it out there.
Whoever doesn't win this race, it's going to be a problem for the other 3. So it's not great. The other race that we do know of, the field of, I should say, is the Holy Bull coming up at Gulfstream Park. Back-to-back big weekends there. It's not a crazy strong field as far as what they've done so far. I think Cyclone Mischief will probably be the favorite in that race. What are your early indications of this Holy Bull?
Yeah, I was reading, like, when you go through the past performances and you look at the past buyers of some of these horses, it leaves you something to be desired. I think it was like only 2 horses have gone over 75, something like that off the top of my head. So not the best field in the world here. And Cyclone Mischief is probably going to be your favorite, which means you're playing Dale Romans at a short price in a graded stakes race, which kind of makes you wonder a little bit. A little interested in, obviously, Rocket Can, who's going to be coming out there for the Magic Mike show to see what he's able to do. Run pretty well the last few starts, but needs to take a step forward. The loss to Confidence Game doesn't look great right now because of what happened with Confidence Game, and LeCompte ends up running 3rd there, but a well-beaten 3rd. So interested to see if Bill Mott can keep his hot streak going there and have Rocket Can step forward. Going to be interesting on the pace as well. You've got a couple horses that want to go. I just expect Legacy Isle goes for Rohan Crichton. And Cyclone Mischief is going to be forwardly placed as well. So how this pace sets up will be very interesting. And then, obviously I'll be watching Rocket Can and see what he can do.
Yeah, Rocket Can's interesting. Like you said, he finished a close second to Confidence Game. I mean, Confidence Game wasn't great for sure, but he wasn't absolutely awful either. So it's kind of a who knows there. Yeah, we'll see if Cyclone Mischief. I think Dale Roma is going to be a big favorite in this race. I mean, you look at this. If he runs back that last race, I think people are going to think he's going to win this one. So maybe an opportunity here as well. Lord Miles is a horse that's interesting too. Gets Irad Ortiz aboard for Safi, but boy, Safi was cold as ice, as you probably know down there at Pegasus. That was crazy.
It was wild. I had dinner with someone who helped Safi on the training side too the night before. So to hear him talk about the horses and then to see the performance was wild to see. You hear about trainers pointing to days. You'd think Safi was pointing to that Pegasus day as well. That it's one of the biggest days, if not the biggest day. I mean, Florida Derby Day, obviously right there down at Gulfstream Park. And Safi had horses up and down that card. And Rosario had a rough day. Safi's might have been worse. And that's saying something.
It's really, yeah, that is saying something for sure. And you're right. It felt like Safi was pointing forward. He had a lot of horses entered and a lot of horses I thought were pretty good entered. So I don't know. All right, let's talk. Well, we don't really know the field for the Withers, so I'll just skip over that one. I think we'll have Arctic Arrogance, WHNL, and Hit Show. We don't know though. We'll see. We'll cover that one a little bit later on in the week with some of our other shows. Let's go on to overall Derby talk here. You said you wanted to talk about who do we think is going to win this race right now. It sparked a big debate on the Magic Mike show. What's your take? Who do you like right now for the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, Magic just dropped this bomb on me because he did not tell me he was going to ask me this. And then he shows all the odds. And who I would bet and who I like, I think are different things right now. But I'm pretty surprised to say that at this point, I think Forte should be the favorite in the Derby and a pretty decent favorite in the Derby at that. We had a lot of expectations for this 3-year-old crop heading into this year. I don't know if any single horse has delivered on the expectations that were laid on them going into the year right now. And we have not seen Forte come back, obviously. So we still have to see Forte back at the track. But I have not seen a single performance I think is better than his Breeders' Cup juvenile effort. I don't, even his race prior where he beat Loggins by a neck, probably good enough to beat anyone we've seen run at 3 right now. I don't love the way his style. I've been very unimpressed with this overall 3-year-old crop this early. We're going to see some of the heavy hitters soon, so that may change. But right now, I think it's hard to say Forte is not the best 3-year-old.
Well, I'll parlay it to the next question there is I think everybody was in agreement with what you're saying until the Arabian Night situation that happened at Oakland Park and Southwest Stakes where he looked very good. So you're saying you weren't overly impressed with Arabian Night Southwest effort?
I was impressed and unimpressed at the same time. So first off, the field is terrible behind him, right? Red Route 1 is the only horse that would even sniff the Derby gate in that field and came from the back and was able to run into second. I was very impressed with the early cruising speed we saw from Arabian Night. He looked phenomenal up front in that first quarter of a mile, went 22-4 and did it very, very comfortably. However, he paddled like a mofo, and man, did he get tired down the lane going the 2 turns. So I have some. All of Baffert's best horses can keep that cruising speed. He struggled to keep that cruising speed toward the end of that race. And that to me was where the knocks started to come in with him. So we'll see what he can do is taking a step forward here. But I don't think that was a wow effort, right? I would take Cave Rock over him right now if Cave Rock was running where he was at 2.
Yeah, I ended up moving Arabian Night up to number 2 because I think he is better than what we've seen so far this year, and I think he would agree with that. I think he's better than Instant Coffee. Victory Formation. I think he's a little bit better than him. Reincarnate, those horses. I moved him ahead of Cave Rock because where is Cave Rock? I need to see a work from him.
That'd be nice.
Exactly. Well, I know for you as well. I'm in the same boat as you though. I have Forte still at number 1, and it's the same reason. He did everything the right way. He did what I thought he would do. Take it to him, run him in a submission, gallop away. Had to be ridden harder than you might imagine. You go back and you watch that race again, you alluded to it, really had to be scrubbed on. He is not the most beautiful mover in the world. There's no question about it. Reminds me a little of Essential Quality, but I think he paddles maybe worse than Essential Quality even. He's kind of a herky-jerky mover for sure. I'm with you. I think he's really good. And listen, the other thing with me, and let's see if you agree with this or not, The longer you're going to go with the source, I think the worse those little issues might become big issues.
100%. And you also have to remember he's not going to be Bob Baffert training in the Derby.
Yeah.
He's going somewhere else. And that opens the question to whom and how is that trainer trained? And how is he going to try and handle this horse and move this horse forward? So those are huge question marks in my mind as well. It's not like we're just going to get Baffert through the Derby here. And we're going to be able to see something like, the American Pharaoh, the Medina Spirit, these horses that carried their speed so well. Baffert's not going to have 3 months to get him to the point where he can do that for a mile and a quarter. And so where we are now and where we need to be seems like a pretty big distance. And that's where my issue is. And the fact that the clear second best horse we've seen is Instant Coffee, I think also tells you something here. That the argument is Arabian Night versus Instant Coffee, who's the best 3-year-old we've seen, kind of tells you what we think of the 3-year-olds we've seen so far.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's a great point as well. Maybe we'll see something better this week, and it doesn't look like it on paper, but you never know. Sometimes they'll jump up and surprise you. Yeah, and you were like, even like a victory formation. Tony A asked, is victory formation running in the Rebel? He's either going to run the Rebel or the Risen Star. Listen, his Smarty Jones was nice, right? But it wasn't anything to make you get excited. A lot of these horses need to take that next step. And we'll see if it happens. This is an interesting race as well that Nick brings up. I forgot to mention on Saturday on that Holy Bull card, there is allowance race. Tappet tries for Shesterkin. What do you think? Either one of these horses you're interested in, thinking maybe they can make that jump up?
Maybe Tappet Thrice. He would be the one over Shesterkin that I would be more interested in. But again, for this second week in a row or weekend in 3 weeks, we're looking at an allowance on the undercard of these Derby preps and saying this might be where we're going to see the better horse, right? We did the same thing on Lecomte Day. We had a 5-horse allowance field that we were interested in as much as the Lecomte. So it tells you how developed these horses that are in the stakes races are right now. So of those two, I would lean toward Tappet Thrice, but I am not overly confident in either.
Yeah, that's just it. I'm not either. We'll see what happens. One's going to go to the lead. I think one will be mid-pack, and then we'll just see who can outfinish who. I think Pletcher gets the job done there, but not quite sure with which one. Yeah, with the Baffert thing, it's going to be interesting. If they have to move, if it holds up and they have to move by March 1st, is that a better thing than last year where they moved at the last second, or a worse thing?
Well, I mean, from a gambling perspective, it's a better thing, right? The more chances we get to see the horses run under the trainer that they're going to run for in the Derby, the better it is for the person wagering on the race, because you actually have something on the form to look at, right? One of the big problems with both Taba and Messier last year is that we had absolutely no data points without being in the Bob Baffert barn. We weren't really sure how they were going to run. We weren't sure if this was just a ghost trainer in Tim Yaktine, where we called it, well, what did we call it last year? Yaffert, right?
Yaffert or Yaktine, what did we call that?
I think it was Yaffert's.
Yaffert, okay.
But we never got to see them do anything but work out. And those videos got dissected. I remember 2 weeks before the race, we're talking about Taba and his workouts more than anything else, because that's the only thing we saw out of Taba in the Yaktine barn. So having 2 months, seeing multiple races for some of these horses under different trainers is going to give you a better idea of how that horse is progressing. How do they look? Did they improve or did they regress off both the first and second race in those barns? It gives you so much more information getting into the Derby. So I think if you're gonna uphold the band, I think it's a good idea to have it happen sooner rather than later, so that horses get transferred and that you can understand as a bettor what to expect from these horses under new trainers.
Yeah, I agree. I think just some clarity on the issue is the biggest thing, and hopefully we have a little bit of that. So I think we're both on Forte right now, and you kind of mentioned it, and I'll piggyback off of it here before we get out of here. I kind of feel the same way. Like, I didn't think I would be sitting here saying, yeah, Forte, but it's pretty underwhelming, and I'm with you. Like, Arabian Night, definitely the best of the bunch so far that we've seen as a 3-year-old, but I'm with you. It's like, I think Forte will run that horse down. I thought Cave Rock as a 2-year-old was coming into that Breeders' Cup Juvenile looking really good, and probably better than Arabian Night, and Forte didn't have any trouble with him. So it's kind of one of those things. I'm just waiting, but how long are we going to be waiting, Somich?
I don't know, but I also know that it's going to be hard to convince me to bet a horse that's 2-5, 3-1, or 5-2, or 3-1, even 7-2 on Derby Day, when they are going to be closing from where Forte is going to be closing as well. So the draw will be incredibly important for Forte, because he's going to need to find a trip because of his running style, which is, obviously last year we saw Rich Strike do that, but if you look at who finished second and who finished third, they sat mid-pack and were able to make a nice move. Forte wants to sit a little further back. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out as well, and how important the draw once again this year will be if Forte is your morning line favorite in that race.
Yep, and obviously how he runs coming back will be interesting as well. You'll think you're probably going to see him twice, probably down in South Florida. So how he comes back will be very interesting as well. All right, Somich, any final thoughts before we sign off today?
No, look, man, I am pumped about horse racing. This last weekend was a ton of fun, having the Pegasus, enjoying that card, having a really great betting card. You know, the mandatory on Sunday was wildly frustrating, but still fun to have those races going on. And it's nice to have a race to talk about every weekend after that lull that we had there for a while. So something changes every weekend now in horse racing, which makes these type of shows so much more fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And it heats up. Kind of the Pegasus is the relaunch of the season. And you're right. Every week's going to be fun and exciting. 3 Kentucky Derby preps, plus this allowance race, plus that maiden special weight we talked about. So, yeah, it's fun, and it'll be that way all the way through, really, Saratoga. So, yep. Hope you do like racing as Somich, because you'll be busy now. So not that we weren't anyway, but yeah. So all right, that'll do it, I guess, for us. We will head out of here. A lot of action coming up this weekend. A lot of things to break down. Stay tuned to the channel. We'll have all kinds of videos and live shows for you. But as for now, we're going to sign off. Good luck, everybody, this week, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track across the country. We're ramping up for the 2023 Kentucky Derby, and we want you to join us in the fun. Subscribe to Racing Dudes YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.